Good evening and welcome to our final episode of Wollaton Watch.
Yes, it's sad to say this is our last episode, but we hope you've enjoyed our virtual nature trip around Nottingham and Nottinghamshire.
Yes, but although it's our last episode of Wollaton Watch, the Nottingham Festival of Science and Curiosity is still on until next Wednesday, so there's still lots of opportunities for you to get involved with our virtual workshops, activities, videos. To find out more, just head over to our website, www.notsfosac.co.uk. Coming up on the programme today, we've got birds, we've got the finale of Louise's Adventures, we'll have our final Guess That Sound, and we've got our biggest specimen yet.
We've got a great show for you today, and to start us off, we're going to find more about Nottingham's Industrial Museum, which is actually on the grounds of Wollaton Park in the stable block. So here it is for you.
Hello and welcome. At Nottingham Industrial Museum, we have a fantastic collection of displays, exhibits and interactive activities for everyone to enjoy. Maybe you want to travel back over 200 years to learn about life in pre-Victorian Britain, when hundreds of thousands worked in agriculture and the cottage industries, when your life was determined by weather and by nature. Or perhaps you'd rather delve into the Industrial Revolution, at the height of Queen Victoria's reign, to learn about the inventions and innovations of the 19th century, from lace-making machines in our Victorian kitchen, to the discovery of steam power and the mechanisation of our factories, and the railways. And if it's transport you're interested in, we've got so much more than just trains, with a collection of bikes, motorcycles and cars dating from the 1800s through to the 1930s and 1940s, right up until the 1980s and the present day. There's something for everyone at Nottingham Industrial Museum, so check our website to find out more about what's going on.
Such a clever little video. There's so much that's fascinating to learn about Nottinghamshire's industrial heritage at the museum, so definitely worth checking out when it reopens.
Next up, we're going to go down to the lake here at Wollaton, and we're going to go to Corey, who will be giving us some bird spotting guides.
Hello, we're here at Wollaton Park, surrounded by lots of geese, as you can hear, and I'm very pleased that I'm joined by Corey, who's a bit of a bird expert, and he's going to tell us all about the birds that have come down to Wollaton Lake. Corey, you're a bit of a bird expert, I understand. What are the birds that we can see here already?
Canada geese, you see a lot in Wollaton Park, but grey lags are a bit rare to see, and there's only one in the group of Canada ones.
Is there one here today?
Yeah, there's one here today, and they have orange legs with an orange beak.
They all look like ducks to me. So what can you point out and show us that are here today on the lake?
Well, you can see Egyptian geese as well.
Are there some Egyptian geese here?
Yeah, they can be.
Wow. Okay.
They're the more colourful ones.
They're beautiful, aren't they? Yeah. Okay. And what about these birds with the white kind of nose or the white beak? I just call them ducks, but these are cute.
Not actually birds.
Now, Corey, one of the things that I know that you also are a bit of an expert about is migrating birds. And you think that some birds come here and kind of rest on their migration?
No, but there was a big flock of puppies. There's one there, Grandad.
Yes.
But then, well, maybe they carry on their migration.
What was the name of the birds that you've just mentioned?
Potsherds and shovelers.
Potsherds, yes, and shovelers. And where do you know where they go to for migration?
May go more at the bottom.
So what would you say to people who think that birds don't really matter?
Birds do matter, but there's also partridges.
Yeah. So do you think we should look after places where birds are?
Yeah, but they already got the great auk extinct.
Yes, exactly. So some birds have gone out. Yeah, they've gone extinct, haven't they?
But there's still the little auk, though, we can see.
Is there?
Yeah.
In Nottinghamshire?
No, not in Nottingham. Not in Nottingham. And now I'll go on to see birds.
Well, look, Corey, it's been brilliant to have you here today. Thank you ever so much for sharing all your knowledge about birds with us. And what shall we finish off with? Shall we say, what have we got on the lake there that's all swimming towards us? What are these? There they go.
Black-headed gold, and they're flying in a big flock.
Brilliant. Well, listen, Corey, thanks ever so much. It's been great to meet you.
And just to note that that video was filmed in accordance with all of the social distancing rules at the time of filming.
Yes, we want to say thank you, Corey, for that video. It was a lovely video, and he had so much bird knowledge, and he also had his bird identification book with him, which is great for all the bird watchers out there as well.
You can also find free versions of bird ID charts online as well, really easily. Next, we're staying by the lake for our final video from Sarah Robinson, and this time it's about coots. Thanks again to Sarah for all of her amazing videos this week.
Yes, and now we have the last guess the sound of the week. So now we're going to hear the sound.
Now this is an animal that we've actually mentioned before in the programme, so if you've been watching all week you've got a bit of an advantage. It's something that actually lives here at Wollaton Park, so let's hear it again.
Okay, get thinking and we'll let you know the answer after the break.
Welcome back to Wollaton Watch. Before the break, we heard our final Guess That Sound of the week. Did you have any ideas at home? What did you think it might be? Let's hear it again to remind ourselves of what it sounded like.
Yes, this was a really difficult one, so you'd probably have to be a really good bird expert like Corey or Indy, but it was actually a parakeet. So if you remember from the first episode, when we were discussing with Sue Miller, and she said about a green flash when you're walking in Wollaton Park, that was the parakeet. So can we hear that noise again, please?
So that's the noise you're listening out for if you want to find parakeets in the park. Over the course of the week, we've spoken about quite a lot of different artists that we've been working as part of the Festival of Science and Curiosity this year. Next up, we've got a video from the artists Instar, who will be giving you a bit of a sneak preview of the installation that they've produced, which we'll be showing here at Wollaton Hall when it reopens to the public. Their work is all inspired by jellyfish and how jellyfish move. So here's a little bit of a sneak preview of what their installation will look like.
Yeah, that was a really interesting video, and it was nice to see how you could see like the movements of the jellyfish through the sculptures.
Yeah, so it's going to be installed kind of right behind this part of the hall when it reopens. So really excited to seeing that. If you want to learn more about jellyfish, this weekend we'll actually be previewing some videos that Instar made earlier in the year with people from the Monterey Bay Aquarium in California and an organisation called Incredible Oceans, so an oceanographer from there. So they've filmed 2 videos just discussing all about how amazing jellyfish are and how incredible they are. So if you head over to our Facebook page this weekend at 11 o'clock on Saturday and 11 o'clock on Sunday, you'll be able to see those videos. Another jellyfish activity we have as part of the festival, we're loving jellyfishes this year, is we have a colouring in sheet that you can, if you colour in, and then if you use the app to hold your phone or tablet or whatever up to the printout, your colouring in will come up to life. It's an AR kind of experience, and you'll see the jellyfish kind of floating around your room. So that's available for download on the festival website.
Next up, we have our final episode of Louise's Adventures. So throughout the week, Louise has been showing us different animals, so lizards and snakes, but today she'll be finally releasing the hedgehog Rupert.
Hello and welcome to the final episode of Louise's Adventures. Here is Rupert's release site. Rupert will be on his way shortly. Let's hope he likes it. Fingers crossed.
Hello, my name is Callum and today is a very special day. Today I am helping my realm release a hedgehog back into the world. His name is Rupert. We think this is a perfect place because there are no busy roads.
We want to make sure Rupert has a safe and warm space to be released in, so we're adding some dry leaves to his nest box. Let's hope he uses it.
You think Rupert will be nice and warm with all of this?
Probably.
Do you think?
I'm happy all of them are dry. We don't want wet Rupert leaves.
We don't want wet Rupert leaves, that's right. Why don't we want wet leaves?
Because you'll get colder in the winter with it.
He'll get cold and damp, won't he?
Wait, it's butter.
That's okay, no worries.
You'll eat
More
it.
food for him, isn't it? Well done.
So when Rupert came to us, he'd been treated by the PDSA vets. He had a massive tick infestation. He was extremely dehydrated and he was only 350 to 400 grams. Last week's weigh-in was 950 and he's put on his weight. He's had a lot of chicken, boiled chicken, things like that to build him up. And as you can see, he's quite a docile hedgehog. But we think he's probably middle-aged. He's not a young hedgehog, he's not over the hill yet, so we think he's doing all right. Aren't we?
Well, thank you, Tracy. Thank you for giving me this opportunity
That's all
to
right.
release him.
There's no problem. Do you want him back?
Thank you. So, here is Rupert. I finally get to meet the little spiny fellow which I've been preparing to release for a long time now. We're just going to give him one last way, just to make sure he's definitely heavy enough to be released out into the wild. I think he might be. Shall we see? Yep, definitely heavy enough.
A hedgehog needs to be at least 600 grams to be able to survive hibernation in the wild. Rupert was close to 1,000. This means he's definitely heavy enough to be released. What we're doing now is adding Rupert's favourite towel to his nest box. If the nest box smells more familiar, he's more likely to use it, as hedgehogs have a very good sense of smell. Now everything is prepared for the big release. I'm feeling very positive about Rupert's chances of overwintering in this special place. All we have left to do is carry Rupert's nest box up to the hedge that he will be released into. Now, all we need to do is put Rupert into his new nest box. Good luck, Rupert. Have a happy life.
Just going to get some of the bottoms done.
I feel like
That's
it.
wonderful.
Yeah?
And you can always scatter some of this around as well.
Yeah, I'll scatter it around.
Yeah?
Okay,
You
we'll
think
do
that's
it.
enough?
Yes, I do, yeah.
Would you like to put them in, or would you want me to? Actually.
I think
You
you should, Tracy.
You absolutely should.
Absolutely. Here we
Oh,
go.
God, he's heavy. Bye, Rupert.
Bye, Rupert.
Have a good life. Okay. Oh, heavy. Okay. Go into his
Thistles.
Rupert had a very good sleep in his nest box that we made for him. He snoozed for about 5 hours. After Rupert's big long snooze, he left his nest box to continue his life back out in the wild where he belongs. Over the next few days, a lot of other countryside critters found his nest box very interesting. This little wood mouse visited the nest box 5 times in one night. Maybe he's looking for somewhere to rest. I hope he uses the nest box. Wood mice don't hibernate over the winter, but they do go into torpor, which is a deep sleep where their heart rate slows. This little mammal is what looks like a field vole. It seems to be finding the nest box very interesting too. Rupert didn't return to his nest box, though I am very confident that he'll survive hibernation out in the wild. I'm sure he'll be having plenty of adventures right now. Good luck, Rupert!
Oh, that was such a lovely video, and it was nice of Louise to be sharing that with us, so thank you.
Yes, it was really nice to think of Rupert all snug in his hibernarium. Thank you again to Louise for all of her hard work and effort with Louise's adventures. Some of you might have noticed that Louise was also involved in some of our other features throughout the week, so thanks again for all of that.
Yes, thank you. And coming up after the break, we've got lots of exciting videos. We also have our grand finale of, where we're going to be showing another big specimen from Wollaton Hall, and there's going to be plenty of opportunity to be discussing about it. So, yeah.
We're looking forward to seeing you again very shortly after the break.
Welcome back to Wollaton Watch, and throughout the week we've been looking at some specimens here at Wollaton Hall Natural History Museum, and we have something pretty big and pretty impressive for you, so we'll take over to Megan.
Yes, so today we thought for our last episode would go really big, and we've got this skull here, which is the skull of an Asiatic elephant. So these elephants live in the wild in India, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Borneo, and actually in some parts of China too. If you come to the hall and you'll see the specimen, you'll see actually on the bottom it has some writing that says that it's from India, and it says it's an Indian elephant, and that's actually the old name. They're now called Asiatic elephants. So we don't know that this was actually from India. It could have been from anywhere in Asia.
So what do we kind of know the difference between Asian and African elephants?
So in general, Asiatic elephants are actually smaller than African elephants. Their ears are smaller and they're a slightly different shape, and they have smaller tusks. We do actually have an African elephant tusks in the Africa Gallery here at Wollaton Hall, so if you come along, you'll be able to tell the difference between the two. This specimen is actually really, really old, so it's probably Victorian, so it's probably over 100 years old at least. And we're not too sure much about it. We don't know where it's come from, but we do know that it's probably male because of the tusks. So Asiatic elephants have been on the endangered species list since 1986, and it is because of habitat destruction, conflict with farmers, and also poaching. So they're poached for their tusks, and their tusks are made of ivory, which is the same material as what our teeth are made of. So these tusks are actually essentially really big canines. And they've been hunted so much for their tusks that actually in Sri Lanka, the elephants don't have tusks anymore. So there's been a kind of a genetic mutation, which has meant that some elephants were born without tusks, and because they weren't poached, they've become the kind of dominant species, and there's no more elephants with tusks. So it really shows you evolution in action. They actually also, you can just about see they have a tooth at the back here, and that's for crushing food. And so humans, we have two sets of teeth. We have our baby teeth, and then they grow and fall out, and then we have our adult teeth. Well, elephants actually go through that process 6 times. So they have 6 sets of teeth that wear down and kind of fall out throughout their lives. So this is the bit where the trunk would have been. And this hole here is kind of essentially its nostrils. It's actually said that the myth of the Cyclops, which is a kind of giant one-eyed creature, came from people finding skulls like this and thinking that this is the socket where the eyes were, which is not actually true. The eyes would have been here and here at the side.
Okay, so how did this set come to Wollaton Hall?
Yeah, so I mean, in modern times, the museum here never ever accepts anything that's been killed deliberately. So they don't have anything in their collection from modern times that's been poached, like this one might have been, or hasn't because it has tusks. But they're all about wildlife conservation here at Wollaton Hall. So actually the new collections, actually the most recent collection edition was a penguin, and that was actually, it died of natural causes at a zoo in the UK. And actually it's really, really useful for researchers to have really old specimens like this, because they can tell how animals have changed over time. So they can do research about the size of the tusks of this animal in comparison to modern day Asiatic elephants, and find out lots more about how species have changed.
Thank you very much for that, Megan. Next up, we're going to be hearing from Sheila, one of the curators here, and we're going to be learning about different species of bats that has been spotted on these grounds.
Well, we have 8 different kinds of bat living in Wollaton Park, feeding on all the insects we have here. Starting with this one, this is our large species. It's one of the biggest bats we get in the whole of Britain. It's called the noctule bat, and it lives in old woodpecker holes in trees. The natterer's bat likes to be near water to roost, so you tend to find them roosting in brickwork, in sort of bridges. And then we have a very close relative of the natterer's bat, the Dorbenton's bat. And the Dorbenton's bat is also known as the pond bat. And it's very unusual because rather than catching insects in the air like the other bats do, this one actually picks them up with its feet off the water surface. And they've got the biggest feet in proportion to their body than any other British bat, so they can grab insects. We also have whiskered bat in the park. It's a bit smaller than the natterers and Dorbentons, but not too small. And the whiskered bats live in some of the buildings in the park. They're quite common, again, you often hear them on bat detectors when you're doing bat walks. Then we have what I call the 3 smallest bats. First of all, the brown long-eared bat. Now these live in roof spaces normally. And over our industrial museum we have a very big roof. And we have a big colony of brown long-eared bats, at least 30 or 40 females, which have their babies in there every year. And we've actually got a camera in the roof so the public can see the bats feeding their babies. Then we also have at least 2, probably 3 actually, pipistrelle species. This is the common pipistrelle, and there's another one called the soprano pipistrelle in the park, which has a higher voice than the common pipistrelle, this one. Soprano pipistrelles, in common with all bats, echolocate. They produce very high-pitched squeaks in order to see their way around in the dark. And they listen to the echoes coming back, and they can tell from that where their food is, so they can catch insects in mid-air, and also they can make sure they don't bump into trees and other objects they wouldn't want to collide with. We also have this one. This is an enthusiast pipistrelle. Named after a gentleman called Enthusiast who discovered them. And at one stage they were very rare migrants to Britain, only occurring to breed on the continent. A couple of years ago we were doing a bat walk in Wollaton Park and we picked up an Enthusiast pipistrelle on our bat detectors. So we know that this bat that was once a very rare migrant is now living in Wollaton Park alongside our 2 native pipistrelle bats. Now, I just like to say that all these bats are ones that died accidentally. We never kill animals to put on display in the museum at all. So all these bats came to grief either with cats catching them, or hitting cars, or some of them just died of old age.
Another video where it's been really interesting to see all the different types of one species. So really thank you to Sheila for that. In a few months, when it starts to warm up a bit, do have a look outside for bats. So kind of around sunset time, that's when they come out to hunt for insects. Another thing that you can do for wildlife in your back garden, again, is build a bat box. So have a look, there's lots of tutorials about how to do that kind of thing online.
Next up, we're going to be focusing around another flying animal. This time we have starlings. We've got an amazing video about starling murmurations, which is when a group of starlings twist and turn together in the sky just as dusk falls. So take a look at this interesting video.
During the winter months, starlings gather in the UK from the continent, seeking warmer temperatures. Flocks arrive at dusk and form murmurations containing thousands of birds. Numbers reach their peak as the evening light fades. Suddenly, the murmuration cascades into the reed beds. The main theory behind the reason for starlings forming these vast groups is safety in numbers. Murmurations can be caused by sparrowhawks, which are a bird of prey. Sparrowhawks rarely catch starlings when they're in such large numbers, as it is too difficult to choose just one bird to target.
That was such a good video. It was so calming, and I never really knew why birds would do that. So it's really nice to know like there's some reason behind why they might do that, and also it's amazing to see how they like fly and they don't bump into each other as well.
Yeah, that's kind of one of the things about science, is that there's still so many questions that we still have, like why don't they bump into each other, that we don't really know the answers to. So having questions about the world around us is so important, and finding out the answers is even more exciting. After the break, we'll be looking at teddy bears, trees and bees, but we'll see you very shortly in a few minutes. Welcome back to Wollaton Watch. We've really enjoyed kind of touring around Nottinghamshire with you over the past week. And of course, we were filming a lot of the features for Wollaton Watch at a time when nature wasn't particularly its most lively, but we managed to get some great footage, and the footage of the murmurations there, it's actually perfect time, is in the winter time to see the murmurations, and there's actually two great spots in Nottinghamshire to have a look at them, and that's Idle Valley Nature Reserve and the Attenborough Nature Reserve. So do get along and have a look. While there's not much else happening nature-wise, you can see if you can have a spot of that. We've got some great final videos to show you, and we've really enjoyed seeing all of your comments and stuff online. So thanks for engaging with us. Maybe we'll be able to do a summer version of Wollaton Watch when things are a bit more lively. Let us know if that's something you'd like us to do.
Yes, earlier in the week, Dr. Hannah O'Regan, who is an archaeologist at the University of Nottingham, was telling us what animals that used to live here in Nottinghamshire thousands of years ago. Well, today Hannah is helping us answer a question: why do we have teddy bears?
Many of us, when we were small, were given toy furry animals to play with and as companions. But have you ever wondered where these toys come from? And particularly, have you ever wondered why we give bears to children? Now, a bear, as a wild animal, is a large furry carnivore. So why do we give these tiny versions of this big carnivore to our kids? Well, there are lots of different stories, but the story of how the teddy bear became goes back to the early 1900s, and 1902 to be precise. Now, at that time in Germany, a company called Tsiquaye were making toy animals, and they started making bears. And they started making bears that had arms that moved up and down, and then the joints moved as well. So they were making bears, but where did teddy come from? Why are these teddy bears? The answer there is also in 1902, where we go to America, and we go to a hunting trip in Mississippi, when the president, Theodore Roosevelt, was out hunting. Now, he was hunting for bears and he didn't find any. And there are lots of different stories as to what happened then, but one story is that his companions found a bear for him to shoot, and they tied it to a tree so that it couldn't get away. And he saw it, and it was a bear cub. It was only a young bear, and he said, "I'm not shooting that bear. You know, it's not sportsmanlike, I'm not going to do it." And this story was picked up by the press. There was a very famous cartoon made of it, showing the president refusing to shoot this baby bear. And then a local shop owner, who happened to make toy animals, asked if he could make a bear, and he called it Teddy's Bear, in reference to the bear that the president had refused to shoot. And that's where it came from. Teddy bears all over the world came from this Teddy's Bear that was first put in a shop window in America in 1902.
That was really interesting. This programme really makes you think about questions you've probably never thought about before, because it's strange how we hug teddy bears or big animals and toys that are quite powerful and big.
Yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it? Hannah's also written a piece for the Festival magazine, which is about how Winnie the Pooh was actually named after a real-life brown bear who lived in London Zoo in the 1930s. You can have a read of that if you go to our website. It's available for free download.
Next up, we're heading over to the Arboretum in Nottingham City Centre, where we'll be joining Rebecca from Nottingham City's Council Carbon Neutral 2028 team.
Today, we're at the Arboretum in Nottingham. We've come to meet Rebecca Hertz. Rebecca's going to tell us a little about the trees in the Arboretum.
Hiya, I'm Rebecca Hurt. I work at Nottingham City Council Energy Services, and I'm here in Nottingham Arboretum to have a look at some of the really wonderful trees that we've got here, and hopefully get you to come out and have a look at the trees in your area. An arboretum is a collection of special trees, native and non-native species, collected in one area for the purposes of science and education. Nottingham Arboretum opened in 1852 and was the first public park to open in Nottingham, and here we've got over 200 different species of tree. While trees are harder to identify in the winter because a lot of them lose their leaves, and this is called a deciduous tree, looking at their bark and the pattern in the bark can really help identify them. We're cheating a little bit here because this tree still has its leaves, but if you look at the bark pattern, it's really identifiable for its red colouring, and this is a dawn redwood, a non-native species in the UK. We've got some common lime trees here, native to this country, and these are some of the only surviving species from the original planting in 1852 due to air pollution at the time killing off a lot of the species. It's important to reduce our carbon emissions as individuals and as a community. Tree planting can help towards this. As part of Nottingham City Council's Carbon Neutral 2028 ambition, tree planting is a vital goal in this. It will not only support biodiversity, but also carbon offsetting towards the 2028 target. If you go for a walk in your local area, why don't you try identifying some of the trees around you? For native tree species, the Woodland Trust have a really great app that you can download. Or if you come here to the Arboretum, there's the Heritage Trail and the Tree Trail on the Nottingham City Council website with lots of facts and information on the park itself and on the trees in it.
If you're lucky enough to live near to the Arboretum in Nottingham City Centre, have a look next time you're there and see if you can notice all the different types of trees. There's lots and lots that are not native to the UK, of course, so you've got a real special treat on your doorstep, and you won't see them anywhere else locally.
Next up, we've got an interesting video from montage of some photos of some bees.
So for the final part of our programme, the final part of our whole week, we're going to have a run through of some photos and videos from around Nottinghamshire. I'm really excited to have been sent in some great videos this week.
Yes, first up we've got a gorgeous view of the lake.
In sunnier weather, I think that one is. You can see the birds flying and landing on the lake. Very relaxing. Next up, we've got the a photo that's been sent in by Susan Myers. So yesterday I mentioned that I saw a dunnock in my garden. So Susan sent in this photo of the dunnock, obviously taken very recently because you can still see the snow that's settled. Her photo is much better than the one that I submitted to my IDing map. So thanks for that, Susan. And then Next up, we've got a video of a bee pollinating, and just goes to show there's urban wildlife even on drain pipes. Next up, we're going to go and have a quick look at our map. So earlier today, we were up at the Industrial Museum, which is in the city centre, and then we were at the Arboretum. So we've got a really busy map. Thanks to everybody who's contributed to all of our videos. We've kind of done a really good tour of Nottinghamshire this week.
Yes, and we also want to say we both enjoyed presenting Wollaton Watch, so thank you. And also thank you for everyone who let us know through the comments, their thoughts, and joining in on social media as well.
So we want to say a really huge thank you to everybody who's been involved in Wollaton Watch this year, everyone who's made the videos, created our graphics, all the students and interns that have been involved, all the specialists who filmed with us and the experts, of course our fantastic production team, Resistance Live, Notts TV for having us on. We've really enjoyed it. So there's loads more festival activity for you guys to get involved with over the next 5 days, so do head to the festival website. But for now, it's bye from us, and thanks for watching.